Hey everyone, today what I wanted to do was spend a little bit of time showing you our Google Search Console dashboard. It's totally built into our software. It allows you to get access to a rich amount of data that Google already provides to you for free. And it's the kind of data that should and will inform your content writing strategy. And then you can use this dashboard to give you ideas on what types of content to write next. Once you log in, typically you'll find yourself in the Sage Writer main home screen, and you'll see your current articles that you've been writing, their status, their published status, etc. And to get to the Google Search Console data, you're going to go over here on the left-hand side and click Google Search Status. And once you hop in here, you're presented with a graph that shows you your search impressions. This is showing you your total website search impressions over the last X amount of days. And what a search impression is, it's very similar to a Twitter impression in the sense that this tells you how many times over the last X number of days you showed up in a Google search request. You may have shown up on page 1, or you could have shown up on page 10, but whatever happened, you still showed up in the search results. And so the reason this is really important is because it's a leading indicator of how your content's performing. Now, what do I mean by that? Many people install Google Analytics on their websites and they have it working and they're looking at their traffic every single day and they're asking themselves, well, I'm not getting any organic traffic, so my SEO strategy is definitely not working. Well, maybe it's not and maybe it is. But in order to get organic traffic to your website, you've got to actually show up in a search result. And you'll show up in a search result long before you ever get a click on a search result. And a click is what actually counts in Google Analytics as organic traffic. And so how do you know when you're showing up in a search result but you're not getting clicks? Well, that's where you enter Google Search Console. And Google Search Console tells you how many times, like I said, you showed up in a search result over, right now we're showing a graph that shows over the last 30 days or 3 months. So you can see as you mouse across this, that shows you on, let's say, 10/28/22, 534 times this particular user showed up in a search request. And you can mouse over any date and see the data. If you want to click here, you can click for 1 month to see how things are performing. We also show you this handy dandy percentage change in how you're doing over comparing to the last period. So current month and then over the last 30 days, you've increased your search impressions by 101%. We'll pull your data all the way up to 2 years. And we're also adding in 7 days here so you can really see the most recent data. As this starts to get interesting, now that you can see your search impression data, next you'll want to click on top keywords. And where this is really cool is this shows you which search query you showed up for in a search result. So a search query is literally just the keyword that someone typed into a search box that caused you to show up in a Google search result. So Paver, time blocking app. So this particular company who's given us permission to use their data is a plugin for Google Calendar where they let you track your time and block time and also understand where you're spending your time on a weekly basis. So as you can see over the last 3 months, their name is Paver, so they showed up in search results for Paver, obviously, but they're also showing up in what they do. They're a time blocking app, so they're time blocking for Google Calendar. So these were search terms that people typed into a search box and they showed up for and got a search impression. You can see that they're getting a lot more impressions than they are clicks, and that's natural. One thing you'll notice as you look to the right here, we show the number of clicks they got from a search result. We show the click-through rate here, which is this third column, and you can mouse over to see what each column means. And that's just a percentage or a math calculation between these two. And then the last thing we show, what was the average position when you showed up in the search result for that query. So for time blocking app, Paver showed up on average in position 54.62. Since Google typically separates the results by page and only puts 10 results per page, you can do some quick math and say that position 54 showed up somewhere around page 6 between the 50th and the 60th position. You can do similar for, and you can see that as you show up higher and higher on average in position, like this one's 1.04, they got 344 impressions and they got 166 clicks. So you'll notice that the click-through rate goes way up the higher up you show up in the search result. Now, how do you use this data? Well, the really cool way to use this data is to start looking at tighter and tighter windows. So for them, if I was Jessica in this case looking for what should I write my next article about, I might go to the 1 month here and look at the search impressions and see, am I showing up for something new over the last 1 month? or is my content trending up for particular search terms? And as you can see, they're showing up for, again, these time blocking app, Google Calendar time blocking, etc., over the last 1 month. And as we add 7 days in here, you can even get hyper relevant and see which ones you're really starting to rank for quickly, and then target those keywords very fast with new content. But this will give you ideas on, hey, you know what? I showed up 639 times for the search term time blocking app, but I was only positioned 52. So that's telling me I need to write more content that includes content around time blocking apps. If I do multiple things and I'm starting to show up for a particular search term that is a portion of my business, then I'm going to target that, because that's giving me a new opportunity to rank for new content that I didn't rank for before. As we all know, SEO is a journey, and so you're never going to show up on page 1 right off the bat. What you end up doing is you show up on page 5, page 6, page 9, well before you'll get onto page 1. And we all know that being on page 1 is pretty much the only time you're actually going to get a click. And so when you look at this chart and this top keywords report, you get an idea of where Google's starting to look at your website and your content as an authority figure on the topic. And you may now, currently you're an authority figure good enough to rank on page 4, but Google knows that as you create more content, they crawl the new content, and eventually you're on page 2, page 1, position 1, position 2, and that's when you start getting the real clicks, and that's when you really start to get that target audience, that hyper relevant target audience coming to you. As you look through this, you can click on top pages, and again, it shows you similar data, but it shows you based on your website pages. So you can see they've got an effective time blocking techniques for Google Calendar article that they've written, and that's what's getting a lot of those impressions. But again, it's average showing up on position 40. So write some more content around that topic and link back and forth between those articles, and you'll start to have them also pass what they call SEO ranking juice between the 2 articles, which is super cool. Clicks is another tab that tells you, again, how is your click performance going? And your clicks are going to be the last thing to move up. Your search impressions are going to go up first, along with your top keyword impressions and top pages. Clicks will be the last thing. And clicks is what you've been monitoring this whole time in Google organic search and wondering, why am I not getting organic traffic? Now you don't have to wait on the clicks anymore. Now you can go to the search impressions report here and the top keywords report and see what you're starting to rank for well before you ever get a click. And that's really cool. The second tab up here is our Google index status. If you look at Google index status, what this does is it's going out to your website. It is downloading a list of all of the content on your website, and then it is querying Google to ask Google if all of this content is being submitted and indexed and showing up in Google search results. You might have some pages that don't show up in Google search results. If you click on this or you start scrolling down and go to page 5 or page 4, you'll start to see things that don't pass. And those things that don't pass, they might show up with statuses like discovered not indexed, crawled not indexed. This is telling you Google knows this page exists, but they're not ranking it yet. And this is giving you a job. And your job is to go onto Google Search Console and submit this request for this URL to be recrawled until it shows up as passed. Eventually, we're going to add a feature to do this for you, but for now, your best bet would be to take the next step and go to Google Search Console. I'll show you a quick example on how to do it. Let's copy this link. I would go onto Google Search Console and open it up. I would go over here, find my property, for example, there, Get Paver. Then I would type my URL here in the top window and hit return. And then Google's going to retrieve the data from the Google index. And if it shows up as not on Google, then you can request indexing right here if it shows up as URLs not on Google. And that's all there is to it. I hope you've enjoyed this walkthrough of our Google Search Console report. This is really super valuable data. And if you're not spending some time in this report, you're missing out on really great leading indicators that can help you inform your next round of articles that you want to write your content on. So thank you so much. I'm Peter Jurgen. We're here to get you onto the Google front page, and I'll talk to you soon.